Right now, there are literally millions of kids across the globe performing this incredibly intense, just massively fast-paced dance on their phones.
Yeah, it's everywhere. You can't scroll without seeing it.
Right, and it looks like this purely joyful, athletic expression. But if you look closer, and I mean, like really look at the biomechanics and the timing of it, you'll realize they aren't just dancing. They're being quietly biohacked by a machine.
Absolutely. It's a completely modern phenomenon.
So welcome to another custom-tailored deep dive.
Yeah.
Because today we are looking at something hiding right in plain sight on your feed, something that is literally rewiring the human brain and body as we speak.
Yeah, and what we're unpacking today stems from this really fascinating body of work by Dr. Christophe Delong and the team at Kinexa. It's specifically their presentation titled Le Souffle à l'air algorithmique, which translates to, the shuffle in the algorithmic era.
And the premise here is just mind-blowing to me. Like, we are taking a single underground dance, the shuffle, and using it as this ultimate case study for human movement in the age of AI.
Right, because it shows everything.
Exactly. We're going to explore how a smartphone application can dictate physical anatomy, how it changes the way a dancer's brain processes dopamine, and how Kinexa is actually trying to reclaim this movement. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
To understand how an algorithm actually edits a dance, we first need to know what the dance, actually was before the internet got hold of it. So where does this specific movement even come from?
Well, to find the true roots, you actually have to go way back to jazz and tap dance. Like, that's the original DNA. That is where the shuffle gets its ternary pattern.
Wait, ternary, like a 1-2-3 waltz-style rhythm?
Yeah, exactly. But you apply it to the feet. It's that sweeping, brushing motion of the shoe on the floor. It creates this very distinct, rapid-fire triplet sound. But the modern mutation, like the real crucible that created the shuffle as we recognize it today, that happened in the Melbourne warehouse raves in the 1990s.
Oh, wow. Okay, so pre-smartphones, totally pre-social media. I'm picturing, like, dark industrial spaces, strobe lights, probably not great ventilation.
You got it perfectly. And the music was hardstyle. We're talking very aggressive, heavy electronic beats at around 140 to 150 beats per minute.
Which is insanely fast.
It is incredibly fast. And here is the crucial part that distinguishes it from what we see on our feeds today. In those warehouses, people would dance for 30 to 60 minutes straight.
Wait, 60 minutes of sprinting in place? Like, how is that even physiologically possible?
Because it wasn't a performance. It was a physiological state, It was this internal trance-like endurance test.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the dancer wasn't trying to look good for anyone else. It was absolutely not meant for an audience. They were essentially floating using these tiny micro shifts in their weight and momentum to maintain this hypnotic repetition. The whole goal was just to lose yourself in the music.
Okay, so it was purely about the feeling inside the dancer's own body?
Right, exactly.
But obviously that isn't what's happening on my phone screen right now. So how does a highly localized underground rave dance suddenly mutate into this, like, global homogenized phenomenon?
Well, it happened in two massive waves of technological disruption. So wave one hits between, say, 2006 and 2012, and the main catalyst there is YouTube.
Okay.
Suddenly, a dance that lived strictly in specific local warehouses in Australia is being broadcast globally. Dr. Delong and Kinexa refer to this phenomenon as cultural compression.
Cultural compression. Meaning, like, things just happen way faster.
Much faster. I mean, to put that in perspective, think about the evolution of hip-hop. Moving from Bronx block parties to global MTV dominance took hip-hop about 10 to 15 years.
Right.
And that incubation period, it allows a culture to develop nuance, But with YouTube, the shuffle achieved that exact same global leap in just 3 to 5 years.
Wow. And I guess when you compress culture that quickly, you lose the nuance.
Yeah.
You kind of flatten the vocabulary of the dance.
Precisely. And honestly, nothing flattened the vocabulary of the shuffle quite like LMFAO's 2011 music video for Party Rock Anthem.
Oh, wow. Of course. The Everyday I'm Shuffling song.
That's the one. That video basically took this incredibly complex, subtle, weight-shifting rave dance and reduced it to the iconic, highly accessible Running Man step.
Yeah, everyone knew how to do that.
Exactly. That music video essentially became a visual instruction manual playing on a loop worldwide. If you wanted to shuffle, you just copied what the guys in the animal print pants were doing.
Which sets the stage for the second wave, I'm guessing. Like, from 2018 to the present day. Enter TikTok.
Enter TikTok.
And TikTok doesn't just broadcast the dance, right? It actively shapes it. I know the Kinexa research describes the algorithm as a Darwinian motor engine.
It's a perfect metaphor because what's fascinating here is how the environment dictates the evolution of the organism. And in this case, the organism is the dance itself. The TikTok algorithm ruthlessly selects for movements that are readable in less than a second. They have to be visually high contrast and easy to replicate without a massive technical background. If a movement doesn't grab a viewer's attention instantly, the algorithm just buries it.
It makes me think of like a video game optimizing its rendering engine.
Oh, how so?
Like the algorithm only renders or rewards the specific graphics that look good on a narrow vertical phone screen. So naturally, you start seeing less lateral movement side to side because if you glide too far, you just step out of the frame.
Yes.
And instead, you get this extreme focus on the extremities.
Yes, exactly. Because of that vertical constraint, the dance evolved into a highly visual substyle that people often call cutting shapes.
Cutting shapes. Right?
Yeah, it became less about actually gliding smoothly on the floor and more about creating these stark geometric shapes with your legs that just, pop on a pixel by pixel basis.
So we really went from a purely internal, dance-like, felt trance-like, driven entirely by the music, to a purely external one. The shuffle is now optimized entirely for the camera lens. It is no longer danced for the music, it's danced for the sensor capturing it.
And that is the profound fundamental shift right there. And it leads to what Kinexa calls the industrialization of human movement.
The industrialization of movement.
Yeah, let's look at the arms, for example. Originally, in those Melbourne clubs, the arms acted as a pendulum. They provided balance, like a natural organic counterweight to keep the feet moving at high speeds without the dancer falling over.
But now you watch these feeds and the arms aren't balancing anything. They're used almost like graphic tools.
Exactly.
They're making these sharp right angles near the face, creating like artificial visual glitches. It seriously makes the dancer look like an industrial robot on an assembly line.
And notice the core of the body when you watch these videos. The pelvis, which is the natural center of gravity and movement for any human, is completely locked. It's fixed in place. Only the extremities are moving.
Yeah.
The human body is mimicking a machine. But here is where it gets truly unsettling. This robotic aesthetic is literally being amplified by the software itself. Tools like CapCut or the native editing features on these apps create what's called a snap-to-beat effect.
Wait, I need you to explain how this works, because isn't dancing on the beat the whole point of dancing? How is software doing it differently?
It's about inhuman perfection.
Yeah.
So let's say a dancer is incredibly skilled, but they're still human. Their foot hits the floor just, say, 0.2 seconds off the absolute center of the kick drum's beat.
Which is totally normal.
Right. Visually, to the naked eye, it looks fine. But the software analyzes the audio waveform, identifies the exact millisecond of the beat, and artificially stretches or compresses the video footage to force that foot to land perfectly on the mathematical center of the sound.
Oh, wow. So it's creating a supernatural synchronization that no actual human nervous system can sustain.
Exactly. The human isn't dancing to the music anymore. The software is fusing them to it, and they are using the cut-like, the actual video editing, as a literal cheat code.
How do you mean?
Well, Kinexa's research notes that what looks like a full minute of incredible, superhuman, high-speed endurance on your feed is almost always a montage. It's an assembly of perfect 5-second sprints stitched together to look seamless.
So the endurance is fake.
Completely. The illusion of the hour-long trance is entirely gone, replaced by this highly segmented performance.
Wait, so if the software is constantly micro-adjusting their timing, and the algorithm is dictating the physical shape they make to stay in frame, I mean, who is actually in charge here?
That is the core question, right? And it's what Kinexa refers to as reverse biohacking.
Reverse biohacking.
Yeah, traditionally, biohacking is a human using a machine or a piece of technology to augment themselves, like wearing a smartwatch to run faster. But here, the dynamic is inverted. The machine is training the human to feed it the exact visual data it needs to keep viewers scrolling.
The human is just the raw material.
The human is just the raw material. The dancer is turning into an avatar, basically a visual texture that gets slapped over whatever audio track is currently trending. And the tragic neurological cost here is the loss of proprioception.
Proprioception, meaning your brain's internal math of your body.
Yes. Proprioception is that internal, subjective awareness of your own body in space. It's how you know where your nose is when your eyes are closed.
Right.
Because these dancers are solely focused on how they look on the camera screen, they literally stop feeling their body from the inside. They lose that internal map. Instead, they read their success through their social metrics. The statistics replace the physical sensation.
That is a chilling thought. And honestly, if you, the listener, have ever found yourself endlessly scrolling to find a specific trending audio or like a video template for your own social media because you know it works for the algorithm, I mean, you've experienced a mild version of this exact trap.
Oh, absolutely.
You stop asking, what do I want to say?
Mhm.
And start asking, what does the machine want me to render?
That is a perfect parallel. The mechanism is exactly the same.
So while the physical body is being manipulated into these geometric shapes by software, we really have to look under the hood. What is this high-speed algorithmic looping actually doing to the brain of a young dancer?
Well, it's a massive double-edged sword. Let's start with the gains, because neurologically speaking, they are highly significant. To execute the shuffle at this speed requires high-level double inhibition in the frontal lobe.
Meaning the brain has to give the body two entirely contradictory commands at the exact same time.
Right. Command 1. Keep the upper body totally calm, locked, and visually stable for the camera. Command 2. Allow the lower body to explode with speed and complexity.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, that requires an incredible exercise in inhibitory control. And furthermore, syncing a foot strike to a specific 130 BPM rhythm down to the millisecond, that builds a cerebral metronome.
A cerebral metronome. How does that physically manifest in the brain?
It heavily activates the cerebellum, which is responsible for temporal precision and timing, and it relies on the basal ganglia. You can think of the basal ganglia as the brain's habit center. It's like a macro in a spreadsheet.
Oh, I like that analogy.
It automates repetitive motor habits. The brain actually compresses these incredibly complex sequences of footwork into mental chunks. This reduces the cognitive load, meaning the dancer doesn't have to consciously think about every single toe tap.
Which allows them to reach those blistering speeds.
Exactly. It is an ideal model of an ultra-rapid perception action loop.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because that amazing neurological development, like building this lightning-fast habit center, walks right into a trap, and that trap is the dopamine loop.
Yes, and this is where the algorithm really sinks its teeth in. The young, highly plastic brain gets hooked on the anticipation of publication. The artificial surge of dopamine doesn't come from the endorphins of the workout, it comes from receiving likes.
Right, the validation.
The value of the movement gets completely disconnected from the joy of the motion itself. It is tied exclusively to external validation.
It's like farming in a video game. You know, when players just repetitively harvest the same digital resources over and over to level up, these dancers aren't exploring their art or expressing themselves anymore, they're just farming views.
That's exactly it.
They execute a gesture to manufacture external dopamine. And that leads to what Kinexa calls the plateau, right?
The plateau is where brain plasticity simply halts. Once a young dancer finds a specific motor pattern, like a particular sequence of shapes that works and gets high engagement, they stop innovating.
Why risk it?
Exactly. Why risk trying a new move that might get fewer likes? They just repeat the exact same pattern for the algorithm. The brain is trapped in a rigid reflex loop. The learning just stops.
So if they are stuck in this loop, how do you fix it? How do you break a brain out of an algorithmic reflex?
This is exactly where Kinexa's intervention comes in. Their focus is on something called cognitive variability. You have to force the brain to break the automation.
How do they do that?
For example, if you have a dancer who is entirely used to operating on autopilot at 128 beats per minute, you suddenly force them to drop down to 90 beats per minute.
Which feels agonizingly slow if you're used to sprinting.
It feels terrible at first because they actually have to feel their balance again. Or Kinexa uses AI to generate random, unexpected audio or visual sequences that the dancer has to instantly translate with their feet.
Oh, that's clever.
It forces the prefrontal cortex, the conscious decision-making part of the brain, to re-engage. It turns them back from an automaton just playing a macro into an active, conscious translator of movement.
Okay, so we've established the brain is hitting an algorithmic wall. But what is happening to the physical joints? Because executing these high-speed repetitive loops, usually on solid concrete in a driveway or a bedroom, that has to have a severe physical cost.
The biomechanical reality is brutal, and exposing this is largely what Dr. Delong and Kinexa are fighting for. The aesthetic fluidity you see on the screen completely masks a lot of mechanical violence happening under the surface.
Let's talk about the specific risks. because the core movement of the shuffle is what they call the T-step, right? You are pivoting constantly at high speeds on the ball of one foot.
Right.
And these kids are doing it on concrete, almost always wearing flat, fashionable lifestyle sneakers with zero support.
The torsion is extreme. The T-step forces severe rotational stress between the tibia, your shin bone, and the femur in your thigh. That twisting puts the meniscus and the knee ligaments at incredibly high risk of tearing. It severely overloads the Achilles tendon, and it rapidly fatigues the fibularis muscles.
Just so we're clear, the fibularis muscles are...
Those are the muscles running down the outside of your calf.
Okay.
Their main job is to stop you from rolling your ankle outward.
Okay, got it.
When those fatigue from repetitive bouncing on concrete, ankle sprains are almost guaranteed. And remember, because the algorithm rewards a locked upper body, the trunk gets completely disconnected from the legs, leading to terrible lower back compensations. Furthermore, that lack of motor variability we just talked about, doing the exact same viral pattern for the camera over and over, makes the body incredibly fragile. In sports science, a lack of variation is a known primary predictor of injury. You are wearing out one specific groove in the joint.
I have to ask the obvious question then. Why don't they stop? If I twist my knee and overload my Achilles, I sit down. If it hurts that much, why do they keep filming?
Because of the invisibility of the pain. The body's natural biofeedback loop, the one that says pain equals you need to adapt or stop, is completely short-circuited.
How so?
Well, you have a massive flood of adrenaline, you have loud music masking your breathing, you have the intense dopamine hit anticipating the likes, and you have complete bodily dissociation because 100% of your attention is focused on looking at the camera lens to get the perfect take.
The software acts as a painkiller. So the warning signals are entirely masked until a brutal, catastrophic injury just, snaps them out of it.
Exactly. The body is completely silent until it physically breaks. And this is where Kinexa's specific technological solution comes into play. They are utilizing AI to intervene. Specifically, they use pose estimation tools like OpenPose or MediaPipe, which can analyze human movement at anywhere from 60 to 240 frames per second.
Wait, I have to push back here. Isn't AI the exact thing that caused this entire problem in the first place?
Well,
I mean, it's the TikTok algorithm dictating the rigid, dangerous movements. It's the CapCut AI stretching their timing. And now Kinexa is saying, don't worry, we're using AI to solve it. That feels incredibly circular.
it's a completely fair pushback, and it's a vital distinction to make. Social media AI optimizes for one thing, visual engagement, the like. It doesn't care if your knee shatters off camera. Kent's AI, on the other hand, optimizes for biomechanical efficiency and injury prediction. It acts as an X-ray for your movement. It screens for those dangerous risk patterns, those microscopic asymmetries or over-automations that the naked eye just can't see. And once it identifies a weakness, it recommends targeted physical prep.
Like it's specific exercises.
Exactly. Maybe it tells you to strengthen those fibularis muscles or improve your core stability before you try that speed again. The goal is to use biofeedback to protect the dancer's physical architecture rather than exploit it for views, moving them, as Kinexa's motto says, from automatons to architects.
Okay, looking at the intent behind the code, that distinction definitely makes sense. But zooming out to the big picture, this whole situation still sounds a little bit dystopian.
I know, it does.
We have millions of kids grinding their joints into dust, basically acting as unpaid meat puppets to farm dopamine. I mean, is there a silver lining to any of this? Or is this just a depressing story about virality?
There is absolutely a silver lining, and Kinexa provides a very optimistic reframe here. You have to look past the screens and consider what they call the athlete who doesn't know it.
The accidental athlete.
Exactly. Because despite all the algorithmic weirdness, these kids are absolutely defeating the modern epidemic of a sedentary lifestyle. You cannot fake the cardio required for the shuffle, even if you stitch it together in 5-second clips.
That's true.
They are getting massive VO2 max improvements. They are building incredible intersegmental coordination and neuromuscular reactivity. Even if their goal is entirely superficial, like just wanting to look cool online, the physical effort they are putting in is very, very real. The editing software, in a strange way, is basically acting as the strictest dance master or athletic coach you could ever ask for.
That's a wild way to look at it. The app is tricking them into doing high-intensity interval training.
Furthermore, the shuffle has become a global Esperanto. It is a universal language without borders. A kid in Seoul, a girl in Rio, and a student in Paris all share the exact same physical vocabulary.
Let me challenge that Esperanto idea, though. Is it really a shared language of connection, or are they all just mindlessly copying the exact same trending template? Is there actual communication happening?
There is. Because once they learn the alphabet, the running man, the T-step, they start battling each other, reacting to each other's variations and duets, and communicating instantly through movement. It creates this massive, invisible planetary harmony. And it's not just the kids chasing clout on TikTok either.
Mhm.
There is a whole underground resistance of off-grid practitioners. The researchers call them the shadow shufflers.
I love that name. Shadow shufflers. It sounds like a secret society.
It kind of is. These are people practicing alone in garages, basements, or empty studios. They aren't filming themselves. They are entirely disconnected from the algorithmic feedback loop.
So what are they chasing?
They are chasing personal technical perfection. They're just listening for the perfect sound of their shoes' friction on the floor. It's a deeply internal conversation between their nervous system and their muscles, much like the original Melbourne Ravers. For them, setting up a camera would actually break the intimacy of the practice.
That is so cool. And it's not just underground dancers. It's bleeding into professional sports too, right?
Yeah. Yes, sports science has definitely caught on. Elite physical therapists are taking these specific shuffle steps into the clinic. They are using them to build neuroagility in boxers, martial artists, and tennis players. It significantly improves their weight transfer speed.
Wow.
No likes, no cameras, just pure biomechanical optimization.
And that perfectly summarizes Kinexa's ultimate philosophy here.
Yeah.
The algorithmic trend of TikTok. The specific viral audios, they will eventually pass. But the neural architecture these dancers are building, that cerebral metronome, that explosive coordination that will remain.
Exactly.
Once a brain has mastered a complex motor skill like this, it has the key to master other cognitive and physical challenges in the future. Kinexa's goal isn't to stop the dance, it's to return the dancer from being an object, just a video file to be consumed, back to being a subject, a conscious human experiencing the joy and power of their own body in space.
That is exactly the mission. To reclaim the human from the machine.
Wow, thank you for walking through that with me. It is incredible that an underground, gritty rave dance from 90s Australia has become a global language of connection, athletic training, and basically a battlefield for our neurological attention, all hiding right there on a phone screen. And thank you, the listener, for joining us on this custom deep dive into the algorithmic era of movement.
It was a pleasure.
So what does this all mean for you? Well, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over today as you go about your routine. If algorithms and editing software have successfully managed to standardize, rigidify, and completely hijack a complex, high-speed human dance for maximum visual engagement, what other unconscious, everyday physical gestures are being quietly optimized?
So that's a good question.
Think about it. Think about the specific posture you adopt while walking and holding a phone. Think about the way you use your hands and nod in a video meeting when you know you are being perceived on a grid. Think about the exact way you structure your facial muscles for a selfie before you even hit the button. Are those movements truly yours? Or have they slowly, invisibly been shaped by the devices you use every single day without you even realizing it? Something to think about. Until next time, keep digging deeper.